and welcome to the Golden Hour. I am Golden Duffy, your host for the show, and I have an amazing returning guest today, James Giunta. Yes, he's back. We have so much fun together that I just have to keep inviting him back because I want to have fun. You know, if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it at this point in my life. So if I want to have fun, I grab James for a show. James is a lifelong musician and certified hypnotherapist. He was named Hypnotist of the Year by the International Association of Counselors and Therapists in 2013 and is the creator of Hip plus Note equals therapy. He presented his findings in a talk at TEDx Navesink in 2014. James holds a master's degree in communication and a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism. Call upon James to assist you with desired outcomes such as a relief from anxiety, who doesn't need that, freedom from smoking, sleeping great every night, and taking such good care of yourself that you will become happier and more attractive to other humans. In addition to his certification by the National Guild of Hypnotists in 2009, James has attained certifications in the fields of neuro-linguistic programming, emotional freedom technique, and Reiki. He lives, works, and plays and practices in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome back to the show, my friend James.
Hi there, everybody. Hi, Golden.
Hi, it's so good to have you on.
I'm so pleased to be here.
I have to tell the listeners that I was feeling kind of yucky before I got on the show. I got a little head cold allergy thing going on right now, and like the second we get on together, I know that I'm just going to feel better. It's like an energy uptick, you know? And that's what you get when you watch a show with Goldyn and James. You get an energy uptick. So here we go.
Golden, you have sometimes paid me the compliment that I don't know, I'm upbeat or I make people feel good or something. But you know that's what you do. When I'm with people like you, I start to feel better. So you don't see me when I'm not with you. So there are low energy moments. You just don't see them.
Yeah. No,
And
same. And same
there's
here.
something about you that makes people just want to bring their best. They uplift, they get into the higher energies. So we were talking about the higher energies, right?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
What do we mean by the higher energies?
Well, so in the higher energy field, so the highest energies that we can have, like the highest focuses we can have, are appreciation and love. So when we're in appreciation, we're actually in love, right? So if love is the highest form of energy there is, anything that it distracts us from love becomes a lower vibe, becomes a lower energy. Now, satisfaction is great. Like satisfaction is one of the things that we should be reaching for because we can't always be in this like crazy, joy. People think you're crazy kind of a thing where you're like spastic all the time. Sometimes I'm
Yes.
spastic, sometimes I'm spastic because I'm just
Yes.
like so overjoyed with life. But the reality is, if we can get to satisfaction every day, if we can be satisfied with life, if we can be grateful for what we have, if we can look outside and see the preciousness of life, all of the other stuff doesn't pull us down. We can actually maintain a level of satisfaction that keeps us in that higher energy field and keeps us susceptible to fun and laughter and lightheartedness and really good things coming to us.
Yes. Golden, forgive me if you see me looking down like this, it's because I'm taking notes, okay?
Oh, that's cute. Okay.
I want to track the conversation and I want to contribute something right here
I love it.
in response to what you said about having satisfaction. For me, I like to start with a baseline.
Yes.
For example, when people call me or when I'm with a client, I'm doing the initial interview and we're talking about what the issue is. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what is the issue really.
Yeah.
I think what I'm striving for them is the baseline of contentment.
Right.
So contentment is when there's nothing wrong. It's
Right.
not like it's what you said. It's not like dancing on the tabletops. It's
Yep.
just that there's nothing wrong. We're okay.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, because if you get there, then you have a much easier time of kind of climbing up to joy. If you're in that lower fields of even boredom or just dissatisfaction, because our mind is this mechanism that likes to give us problems to work on,
Yes.
dissatisfaction becomes really easy. It becomes a neural pathway that can be your whole life, right? We know a lot of
Yes.
people that walk around just complaining, right?
Yes. So, Golden, I want. I was thinking about this after we did our first show together.
Yeah.
We were talking about. You just reminded me of this. We were talking about all of this energy, but I didn't really acknowledge that there are people, and I have had clients who have some serious situations going on. They've got some serious grief. Somebody died, or maybe there's a terminal diagnosis or a catastrophic injury from which people don't recover.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge that there are serious things going on. I don't. You used the word Pollyanna earlier.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone, even in those extreme circumstances, there is contentment somewhere in the body, somewhere in the mind, somewhere in the past. I help people to connect with that first.
Oh, I love that.
From that baseline, then we can go to the higher energies. But if
Right.
we can't get there, if I can't help to distract them from that horrible thing that's happening right now, we're not going to get anywhere.
It's so true. It's so true.
So
Because it
for
becomes,
anyone,
it's
well, I want to acknowledge anyone who's listening who has a catastrophic situation going on. I feel for you.
yeah.
I would hope that this particular podcast is going to help you to uplift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we are not our circumstances, right? Our circumstances don't need to define us. Our mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, all of that is what defines us. So if you do have something really major going on, I shared the other day in my podcast about looking for the deeper meanings and things. So
Yeah.
when really catastrophic things happen, look for the deeper meanings. What do you need to change about your life? What have you been taking for granted? Where can you find the preciousness of life? Like, does it simplify life for you? I think a lot of times, a lot of people that I've talked to have had, cancer or gone through really serious illnesses or even injuries will tell you that it changed their life for the better because they were taking life for granted and they weren't really recognizing, what that preciousness of life is. So I do agree with you. The big stuff is challenging, but it's the deeper spiritual meanings in it that give it some sort of cause here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Golden Duffy, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What's going on with you these
Oh
days?
man. And it's just little stuff. Like it's little. So a couple weeks ago, something happened to my back, and I think it's giving me a really good picture of what people in pain every single day have to deal with, like standing, sitting, walking, everything hurt, right? And I'm still not quite there. I'm excited. I manifested an appointment with a really good chiropractor who's been like book solid until August. And I manifested that appointment today. So I'm really excited to see him. And I've been doing all sorts of things to try to help myself walking. I've been walking 10,000 steps a day, which I love getting back out in nature. And I'm like, why does it take like these things, these injuries to get us actually doing the things that we know we should be doing? And then, I dropped a water bottle on my foot on Saturday. Yeah. And then we had a prospect that we thought we were going to have to move, but we don't have to move now. But our rent is going up $350 a month, which we can handle, but it's not optimal. And that was after we signed the lease for the payment that we're already paying. They changed their minds and raised it as much as they could. So that happened. And then I've got all this other stuff going on with the business that we're considering that costs a lot of money. And then I have a head cold.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
like, you're just like, okay, life.
Yes.
But in all of it, even dropping a water bottle on my foot, which was full of water, it was a 40-ounce metal water bottle.
It's a bone breaker right there.
My toe is this color, actually. Even in that, I found gratitude because I dropped it on the top of my middle toe so I can walk. I can walk slowly, but I can walk. And I've been doing a lot of like Reiki to myself. So when I go into meditation, I send light to my foot. I'm imagining it being completely healed. And I didn't get into, and I wanted to rest this weekend because I started to get this little like sore throat. So I was able to rest. I'm very fortunate it's open toe sandal season. So I don't have to put on shoes right now. There's so many little things that we can grasp from this that
Yes.
I don't have to go into these low level thoughts of woe is me and why is it like this? And why do I have to, and it's just like, I just keep looking out and going, I'm so
Did you
thankful.
do any of that? Was there any complaining, self-pity?
Well, no, not self. Well, there was a little bit of regret. I definitely went into a little bit of regret, like, oh, I should have done this with my daughter this morning, and then I wouldn't have done that. I should have shooken the water bottle over the counter instead of my foot, which is a public service announcement because that's now how I shake the water, and it's because I put stuff in my water bottle. So there was a little tiny bit of regret. And then, my husband, of course, he's like my life coach over here. He's like, it is what it is. It happened. You're okay. Like, I don't have a serious injury. So that's another piece of it that I take. I've torn ligaments in my ankle. So I have that reflection of the past, like, hey, this could be so much worse,
Yeah,
and I'm going to 2 concerts this weekend, and I'm like, thank goodness that it happened this weekend and not that weekend. So
yeah,
I should be dance ready. I should be able to put my sparkly boots on. I'm looking forward to that. Every day it gets better, and that's another thing. That's my mantra.
yeah,
Is today I'm actually walking a lot faster than I was yesterday, and
yeah.
so, and I'm
Golden, what do you do, or how did you train yourself to be in the field of love?
well. I would say I'm surrounded by a lot of people that need my love, I guess I would say. Like, I didn't grow up with that unconditional love, we'll say. Like, my biological family was not about unconditional love. It was very conditional. So growing up that way and then having 4 daughters who I absolutely adore, and learning and growing and expanding with them as a family, and having a husband who adores me beyond, like, you would not believe the things he did for me this weekend. Like, he ice bathed his feet with me.
I've met Mr. Duffy, and I would believe it. I know the relationship
Yeah.
that the two of you have, and it's really.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, ice bathing your feet is not for the weak. It is very painful, and he didn't have to do it, but he did it with me so that he would know how I felt. So,
Oh,
I have a lot of opportunity for love in this world, and I've been very grateful, and I have not taken any of that for granted. So I think because of the contrast of my childhood and what I grew up with in my biological family, and my husband as well, like, we weren't really supported as children. So we found each other really young. We started dating when I was 14 and he was 16, and we found that unconditional love, and then we just created a family around it. So our family right now, I'm so this is another reason that I'm so grateful. And this is not a brag. This is to show people like what's possible. Our relationships with our kids are so intensely amazing and beautiful. And our family unit is really strong and really just connected, and we're able to communicate really well. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff we want to bring out into the world, because we need more of that. We need more family connection, and we need more unconditional love. We really
yeah.
do.
So one of the ways you train yourself is through relationships, right?
Through relationships, yeah, through the good and the bad, right?
Yeah. Is that the central? Is that your foundation? Is your relationships?
Well, I would first of all say it's my relationship with myself, because that had to change in order for all of these relationships to become better. There was a lot of years that I looked for love from lack, and there was wanting to feed this hole inside of me. So I was overcommitting, I was resentful, I was always giving to people I never received. And so working with that and healing the brokenness inside of me is what made me start to love myself, where now I have boundaries and I respect myself. And it's funny, we got into a little thing with our kids last week, and one of my daughters was kind of taking my side, and she was like, "Mom, you're being abused." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not." Like, you can't abuse me, because I don't accept that. And I understand that they're going through things. And I would actually rather that they didn't get along with me and they got along with each other. So that's where I'm at, because I'm like, not that I'm like unwounded and I have nothing to be reflected, but I'm so sure that I don't take things personally anymore.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. It's definitely a journey, and I do have to process with these girls a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a couple more questions for you,
All
Mrs.
right,
Duffy.
'cause I have questions for you too, buddy.
You go ahead.
I'm
What do
gonna
you
turn
got?
this around on you.
What do you got? What?
I'm gonna turn this around on you.
um, what do you got for me, Golden Duffy? You got a
I
question?
want to know what your process is. Like, what is your process to, stay in that higher energy field, or
You
when you
know,
start to dip?
okay, so here's something.
Yeah, let's go.
You don't, you, I know that you've had adversity in your past,
Oh yeah,
but you don't talk about it that way.
I do.
No, you make it sound like it was a little pebble in your path, even though I know it wasn't that. That's how you describe. With me, I'm a complainer. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe what I've had to go through to get here.
That's the Jersey in you.
Yeah, and some of the stuff, so and then another thing, just before we went on air today,
Yeah,
you were saying that the things aren't so bad. You might have said that in the show. At the top of the show, what you're going through is not so bad.
yeah,
So yeah, so comparatively speaking, other people have been through worse.
yes.
Yeah.
And I've been through worse than this little toe thing. I've definitely been through worse, and
Yes.
even the increase in my rent, and even the prospect of moving. Like, I've intended to do this differently than we did it before. I mean, I've had a week to move before where I had to find a new house, and that was really stressful and very anxious. So I've pretty much pre-paved this situation, and it's like, well, if I have to move, it's going to be the smoothest move I've ever had. And I'm going to find the nicest house I've ever lived in. So that actually quelled all of my anxieties. And it was kind of fun to go out and look at houses. And I honestly don't know. There still could be a move in the picture for us. I don't know, because a lot of energy has just ramped up over here. Um, but I'm also really appreciative of staying. Like, I thought that this morning, and I was like, we love our house. We love where we live. We've been here for 5 years. And I thought this morning, well, at least they're not telling us we have to move right now. Like, an extra couple $100. I'm ready to charge my kids rent. So I think that's a good reason to do it.
It's fair. If
Yeah.
they're adults and they're working, it's fair.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. So let me answer your question.
Yes, please.
There were a couple of things in life that set me back.
Okay.
Um, and I'm not in a relationship. I was married for 12 years. It was
Right.
pretty good. We relied on each other for most of that time. But most of the things that I've gone through that were difficult, I gone through on my own. For example, I was divorced.
Right.
My wife didn't really join me on that journey.
Really.
Um, we were very nice to each other. In fact, the relationship survived even though the marriage didn't.
Wow. That's
But
great.
it's not like we could actually help each other through it, because we needed to separate.
Right.
So we were nice to each other. The
Yep.
relationship survived, but there was still anger and there was still sadness and regret and all that stuff.
Sure.
So you said the word regret earlier. I'm taking notes. And we also talked about complaining. So those things go under the heading of fear. So in my world, there's really only two things. There's love and fear. They're
Right.
flip sides of the coin. The more you practice one, the less you'll have of the other.
Yes.
So working within my relationships with people helps. I also have weeded out people. I don't have any bullies in my life. I don't have any overly dramatic people or
Yep.
people who are going to suck my energy without contributing something back.
Yes.
I don't have that. I weeded them out over the years. And in fact, if they appear, they don't stick around very long because I don't want that.
So
I'm not
true.
going to be good for them either. I'm
Yep.
not going to be feeding into what they need. So there's love and fear. So when I see that I'm in the fear mode, so fear includes regret, complaining. It includes things like resistance, hesitation, hiding, escaping. Denial is fear.
Yep.
If I see that I'm doing that, I
Yep.
give myself 5 minutes to get off of that.
5 minutes. All right.
Yeah, because I might want to be pissed off for another 5 minutes. It's a
Sure.
very powerful feeling.
Yeah. Well, you have to let yourself feel it, because if you don't, then you're pushing it down, and you're still going to create from it. And that's what
Yeah.
people need to realize, is if you don't deal with the deeper stuff, it's going to keep coming up in your reflection of your life.
Yes.
Hmm.
So one of the things that I didn't have for most of my life is I didn't have responsibility or accountability. I was able to keep complaining because I didn't have I didn't have the information that I was responsible for how I was feeling. I didn't get that
Right.
later in life. So now when I see that I'm doing that, the complaining, the fear, the resistance, when I see it, now I understand that I'm doing it. Life isn't doing that to me. Somebody else didn't give me that. That was something that I took on. So then it's up to me to get off of it and go back into love. What does love include? Acceptance, gratitude, forgiveness. Forgiveness, we have to forgive ourselves,
Yeah.
right? So that's my process. It's going back into the realm of love and healing
Right.
and understanding that I'm responsible for how I'm feeling and
That's
what
a
I'm.
big part of this is letting go of victimhood.
Yeah, yes.
I have a whole house full of people that remind me when I'm complaining.
Do they? What do they say? So they're like a code word around there?
Doing is complaining, mom. Stop. I'll just say something about I'm just in pain, and they'll just be like, "All you're doing is complaining." I'm like, "You're
Oh
right.
my
Thanks.
gosh.
Thanks."
Wow.
But they're right, right? Like they're right. They're my barometers. Like they're the people that see me the most, that see me at my worst. And when they remind me of that, it does help me shift because again, if you don't take it personally and you take it as the message, then it's a message for you. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to get more pissed off about it, or are you going to step into, oh, you're right, I got to shift? Because all this complaining, all it's doing is it's having the attention on the injury that's just going to make it feel worse. And
Yes, we got to shift. So
it
that
keeps
might be my new tagline. I'm considering saying shift happens.
shift happens. I love That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I might
So,
have another tagline about hypnosis. I
yeah,
might say, seems like magic, works like science.
I love that. Because I love magic. You know, I love magic. I'm just gonna put up your
Hey,
here.
that's me.
Just so if you would like to get a hold of James and work with him, he is amazing.
Yes, please
Listen,
go to my website. And
that's
if you
right.
have a question, it's impossible to not get a hold of me. Well,
I
I
love
can't say that. It's very easy to contact me. I'm intentionally easy to find. So please go to my website and
Yeah,
let me know if you have a
very,
question.
very accessible. And then this is your Facebook if they'd like to follow you on Facebook.
They may follow me on Facebook or reach out and become a friend. We
Yes,
could
I think you should put some drumming videos on Facebook. That just popped up, so I just had to tell you.
wow. Golden Duffy, I have something completely new that I'm doing.
Yes, let me hear. Let me hear.
Um,
What's
somebody, you know how it is with me. I have to go back 8 years to tell you the whole story, but I'll just go back a couple of months.
yes?
Several people in my life, all at the same time, three people started talking about human design,
Okay.
which is something I first learned about 2 years ago. Human design is a science or a pseudoscience based mostly in astrology, but also with psychology and some physiology. So human design can be used to discover personality styles, what fits with us, and strategies for success. So one of the I learned that I'm a manifesting generator. That's my
Me
type.
too.
Yes. And the
That's
strategy for the manifesting generator is for people to come to us with an
hmm
offer or a request. So I discovered that I'm a lot better than going out and pushing it
Yeah.
and pitching. I'm a lot better when people show a little interest and provide an opportunity. And then I could ask, and because they've come to me with it, they've made an indication that they're interested. So what happened was, I'm going to be doing these events. We're calling it kirtan inspired music and chanting. So it's not strictly in the rules of kirtan.
Okay.
We're doing music and chanting. So, for example, I'm using electric instruments. I've got my electric bass and a keyboard synthesizer. And I will be playing a drum and some bongos and also a little wind instrument called a melodica. These are
Ooh,
not traditionally used with yogic meditation.
nice.
And then my partner, Tim Bradshaw, is going to be playing guitar and singing and chanting. And he'll be working a loop station, which is also a non traditional way of working our technology.
Wow.
Then Hadi Jap is a local yogi who's going to be playing his tabla and chanting. And the three of us are going to produce this event. It's coming up. Actually, Tim and I are working one tonight. And then on the 23rd, the three of us are getting together in a large studio here in Phoenix. And we're going to be doing this. And, you know, when we get together for the rehearsals, the groove is so intense that I feel a shift just rehearsing the music. I feel like I don't want to say intoxicated, but it's something like that. I feel high. I feel.
Yeah.
I
Can we
feel
talk a little bit about that, like the
please.
components of sound healing? Can you share a little bit about that? I'm going to put your website back up. So this is in Phoenix, Arizona. You're going to be doing some live events. So I want to make sure that people in Arizona know how to get in touch with you to find out where these are going to be, because they sound so cool.
Yes.
When is
Well,
the
it's July 23rd, Sunday. It's 2 weeks,
awesome?
and I'm so excited. We're all really stoked about it. We feel like we uncovered this thing. You know,
Yes, it's like going to be a thing. I love things. That's amazing.
we're not the first, possibly, to do this, but we're the. It's the first time the three of us are getting together to do it together, and the things that we're each contributing. You know, Heidi Jop is a yoga master,
Yep.
kirtan teacher, and Tim Bradshaw is a local musician who's also a certified hypnotherapist, and he does sound healing.
Yep.
And I, of course, am a hypnotherapist and musician, so I'm bringing those skills and that perspective. So the way sound heals, right? Um, so first of all, it just raised a question in my mind: can sound be destructive?
Right.
Well, I think it can, but a lot of it has to do with intention and context. So
Mm-hmm.
how are we using the sound? What is it we're going for? First of all, sound has an incredible effect on the physical world.
Yep.
And um, you know that a certain pitch, for example, could break glass,
Yep.
right? Or there's also, it can be used in the industry. I discovered as a child, I learned that oil and water won't mix, right? There's that little experiment, put oil and water in a bottle, they don't mix. However, if you play a certain sound, a certain frequency at a certain level, the oil and water will instantly mix.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
sound has an effect on the physical world. When you sing, when we speak, or when we sustain a note intentionally, ah, or if we chant a sound repeatedly, the vibration has an effect on the physical body.
Wow.
So just speaking in the physical realm, the vibration has an effect on the body. It could be calming, but it could be stimulating. I don't know of a sound that could be harmful in the body, a sound that we ourselves can produce that's
Right.
harmful to ourselves. I don't think there's any such thing.
Hmm.
It can be used for centering, calming, relaxing, focusing the mind. It can be used for alertness or attentiveness. It can be used to reinforce some ideas or intentions that we have, plans for the future, goals, that kind of thing. You
Cool.
can use sound for that. Um, how many times we've all had this experience? We'll hear a song comes on the radio, driving down the road, and instantly we're reminded of that beautiful summer night.
Yes.
Or maybe we're reminded of something unpleasant or a person who hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
But music and sound have this instant, it has a way of instantly connecting us with something, an emotion, a thought, an idea, or the physical body.
Yeah.
So using those basic ideas about sound and healing, we want to put them into context and use our intention. Once you have those three things in place, it's the sound, right? The intention and the context. Once you have those three working for you, healing is inevitable, or whatever the goal is. It's inevitable. It
Yeah.
has to happen.
I love that. That's amazing. I always think about the rice experiment with Emoto. Is it Emoto, Dr. Emoto?
Yes, Dr. Emoto. Yes,
Mhm. Where he
Japanese
talks to the
scientist.
rice and it turns black when he talks hateful things. And like just recognizing that, actually, we had a conversation this morning in my kitchen, and my daughter said, if you have an argument in the room and there's a glass of water, you shouldn't drink it. And I was like, that makes sense,
Right.
actually.
Yes. Do you write on your water bottles?
Well, no, because I have my metal one.
You
Should I be
could put
right?
a label on it.
Oh, I could, yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
could. You could put a label that says love.
drinking sunshine.
Yes. Or you can put a label. Now, everybody at home who's listening to this, you can put a label on your bottle right now that says James. Just
I,
write James on your bottle.
I love
And
that.
you'll double your salary, find the person of your dreams, and you'll lose 40 pounds by
And
next year.
you won't drop it on your foot because James would never hurt you. Am I right?
That's right. I would never hurt you intentionally.
All right. I'm putting that on my water bottle. This is really good advice. I love this. So, all right, let's talk about the title of the show, and let's give some really good techniques or tips that people can use. Like, I know of a lot of people who are in negative cycles in their life, and maybe, just maybe, they've been in these negative cycles for, I don't know, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years, maybe, they, as a child, they just kind of saw the world as a negative place, or they just kind of carried that trauma of childhood with them. What can we say to people that are in these negative spirals? Because one thing I noticed about what I just went through, it would have been real easy, like 1, 2, or 3 things that happened to me to start really getting me down into a rabbit hole. And in the past, it would have worked. But now that I'm real savvy to that, and I know it's like, oh, I don't want to dip so low that I keep creating more of this. I also am not a victim. Dropping the water bottle on my toe, there was spiritual reasons for that. I
Wow.
was not being present. I woke up in a kind of a cranky mood, and I needed rest. And then
Yes.
looked up the spiritual component of hitting the middle toe. I always go to Louise Hay. She has great affirmations and great explanations for what's happening to you energetically. It was
Yes.
all about communication. And over the past week, talking business talks, I felt like my communication was a little shut down because of people who think they know more than me. So I'm paying attention. I'm getting the
Yes.
deeper meaning of this purple toe. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. So what would I say to people who have been in a cycle or a spiral for years?
Yeah.
Um, okay, so that is a stuck state.
Yes.
So if they don't know that they can take responsibility or there is another way, it's a stuck state. So what they're actually doing is they've created a story and they're stuck in the story.
Right.
So if you're listening or watching at home and you're in a stuck state, I want you to repeat after me. Shift happens. Go ahead, say it with me again. Shift happens. One more time together. Shift happens. It happens when a song comes on the radio, or if you go outside, or if somebody calls you. You have an opportunity. So you now have access to something higher.
Yes.
Before you recognize your story, which might be hard to do, start to discover your questions and your statements that you're repeating over and over. So, Goldyn, while you were describing that stuck state, I was hearing and remembering clients of the past who say things in our interview. They say things like, "Why does it always happen to me?"
Yeah.
Or why is it that whenever I'm nice to people, they take advantage of me? So that's a story. It's represented by a question that's not even true. It's the question is making an assumption or a statement, but it's not true.
Right.
And so I would like them to open up and recognize, no, it doesn't. First of all, it's not you. The universe isn't revolving around you. Your life is revolving around your relationships, but that's not really you.
Right.
Um, and the things don't happen the same way every time. Sometimes someone does give something back that's nice. You're not always taking advantage of. But those questions are setting up, they're teaching the subconscious to look for only that.
Yep.
So what we need is some empowering statements and
Yes.
some better questions. Like a better question is, what can I do to learn something today?
Yes.
Or what can I do to help someone? Now, that's not a great question if you're feeling like you're taken advantage of.
No, 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 no.
However, if you're in the mindset that when you help someone, you're not going to ask for anything in return, then there's nothing to lose because you're not asking for something. And the way to help somebody really is to ask for nothing in return. If I help somebody push a car to the side of the road, which I've done plenty of times,
I believe
or
it.
if I've helped somebody carry a package up or downstairs, the thing to do is immediately walk away when you're done.
Yeah.
You're not asking for something in return. Um, if somebody's feeling put out, I'm always so nice and people are taking advantage of it. It's because they're looking for something in return.
Yeah.
So first, take care of yourself. Make sure that you're whole, and then you'll have something to contribute to somebody else, even if it's just carrying a package a few steps.
Yeah. And that's what they call the helper's high when you
What?
start. And it's one of the things I learned from Russell Brand, who wrote the book Recovery, about being an addict. And it's one of the secrets to not no longer being an addict is helping other people heal, helping other people through the process. So I do totally agree with that, but I think there is a point where you have to make sure that you're really full first before you start giving to everybody else. Because I think there's a lot of people that are very depleted in our society that need to actually pull back from being people pleasers and pull back from helping so much and start helping yourself. It's like your whole world is crumbling, but you're out here helping everybody else. It's like you got to pay attention to what
Yes.
you're doing first, right? And then, but as you help other people, it does make your life better. It does take your eyes off of that limited perspective that we have. Oh, these are my problems. These are my problems. And it's like, well, go out and see what the world is like, get a perspective on it. And then you
Yes.
can come back and feel differently about your problems, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in recovery.
Yes, I knew that. Thank you
So,
for sharing that.
yeah.
Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you. And around the age of 30, I started recovery. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen when you put down the drink and the drug. It happens over time. But I remember having to learn how to care about people. Because addicts don't do that. So I had to learn it. I had to really go out and seek it. So I remember I had a girlfriend. My girlfriend, Maria, told me that her friend Anne is so helpful. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, well, I want to be helpful.
Right.
So the next time I was around Anne and Joe, they were helping Maria move. And boy, Anne was so helpful that day. So I started to observe her behavior. How was she being helpful? Well, she was always doing something. She was
Mhm.
anticipating what other people needed and picking up something and carrying it, moving it. So watching that behavior, I learned how to be more helpful. I actually remember taking notes, things like ask Nick how his mother's doing. His mother was in the hospital. So an addict won't remember something like that. But I had to train myself to care
Yeah.
and to be helpful.
Wow.
Those were two things I really wanted. So now I know how to do that. But
Well,
there's the go ahead.
well, it just gives credit to the fact that you can change an identity. Like you could have said, no, that's not the way I am. I'm not a helpful person. I've never been a helpful person. I don't really think about other people. But instead, you made a decision that you were going to be that person, that's who you wanted to be, and you shifted into by watching somebody else and then emulating what they were doing. That's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes. And we get information all the time. We get little bits of information from everywhere. Hundreds of thousands of things all the time, every day. We get this information. We can use it or not use it.
Yep, it's true. True. There's signs and messages everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So there's that other thing that people who love to help others, we use the analogy, you've heard this before, but people who are watching and listening, you possibly have not heard this before. It's the analogy of the oxygen mask.
Oh yeah.
So when you get on the airplane and they give the instructions, those are the emergency exits. And if the oxygen mask falls and becomes visible to you, if someone needs help putting on their mask, put yours on first and then help them put their mask on.
Makes so much sense.
So this is the way we help people who help too much.
You can't help it if you can't breathe, right?
You got to have your foundation built.
I
So make
love
sure
that.
you're maintaining because we require maintenance.
Yeah, that's really good. So, as far as like a negative cycle goes, we've all been in these moments in life where things are not going our way, in particular, like when we were going through some of our really rough, like financial struggle times, and what we went through every single day just to survive, like just to keep ourselves, keep our heads, above the water, like here, and present to our children without worrying them or making them anxious, was a feat in itself, just to go through that every single day. And then the shift that happened through going through that a few times and then going, all right, well, we're going to do this differently. We're going to, this time when we're going through this, we're going to have faith. We're going to have trust. We're going to read things that are going to set our minds in the right direction. We're going to go out and do everything we can in the world. I think that's one thing that people miss sometimes. They think manifestation is like this airy fairy thing that's just going to happen and I can just sit here and think about it. which, yes, sometimes, but for the most part, we need action in the universe. You need to activate energy and move energy because we're co-creators. There's a partnership here. So if you're just sitting in your house, woe is me. Or I just talked to a gentleman who, this girl was called him and she's like, I'm homeless and I have no money. And he's like, okay, I'm going to put you in a hotel, but you got to get a job. Like you got to go out, you got to bring in some income. Like that's a number one. And I think people often get into this, like, the universe is going to save me mentality, which I've been there. You know, our beginning days of manifestation were very much like that, instead of what can we do to create income, to create energy, to create activation that allows the universe to reflect abundance to us. And there was a lot of that. I mean, even to the point of going down to the ocean to watch the sunset, just because it made us feel better, you know, when we were unsure and uncertain about the future, was massive.
Where were you in the world when that was going on?
Well, the first time we went through it, we were in Connecticut and, you know, we were facing house foreclosure. We had a couple cars repossessed. We had bankruptcies. We filed a few bankruptcies.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, so we've been through it all, like majorly through it all. You know, not having money for food, that kind of stuff, and it always freaking worked out. Like no matter what we had to go through, no matter what was happening, it always worked out, and that became our mantra. Everything always works out for us. So then the next time when the second, this was the third time we went through it, was when we came to California. We didn't have enough money for our rent one month. And we were like, whoo, what are we going to do? We actually manifested $5,000 through an amazing man. And we would just go down to the ocean and we would say things like, we've come too far to fail and our circumstances don't define us. And, you know, I'd wake up in the morning and look at my negative bank balance and I would go, that's not who I am. Like I would laugh at it. And that's what people don't understand. When you get so serious and so plugged into a problem that you can't even be lighthearted about anything, that's when you start losing. That's when the game has you and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. I remember my kids had lice once. Oh my God, this was a joke. Like because I freaked out. Like I'm a very clean person and I don't like bugs. And I lost my mind and I hired this company to come in and get the lice out of our house and our kids. Like my kid had like 80 bugs in her hair. I was losing my mind. So they charged us $1,000 and we didn't have that kind of money. And it was like insane because I lost my mind. And I remember this woman telling me, she was really into manifestation. And she said, you have to look at lice like it's no big deal. You got to just be like, whatever. And what ended up happening, because I was so psychotic about it, I kept feeling like I had lice for weeks after, and I kept using the lice shampoo. So I finally went to the doctors and I was allergic to the shampoo. Like that's how we create our own misery.
Yes.
So then the second time my kids had lice, we've only had it twice. The second time, I was very nonchalant about it. I combed the bugs out. I didn't even like call a company. And it went away like that. So
Amazing.
the less we can be stressed about things and hyper focused on the problem, the easier the solutions are going to come. And the more
Yes.
you're going to kind of be in that river flowing instead of fighting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So for you to be able to laugh at the situation means that you were able to step outside of it for a minute and look at it from the outside. If you're in it, you can't laugh at it. So once you looked at it from the outside, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Another thing was that you created some affirmations for yourself, like
Yeah.
everything always works out.
Everything always works out for me. At the time, I was actually reading a book by Florence Scovel Shinn. She was a speaker back in the 40s and 50s when women didn't do that. And her book was called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And the cool thing about Florence is she takes a lot of law of attraction stuff and she applies it to the Bible. So that was kind of cool because it kind of came from like my Christian understanding. And we put up quotes. In fact, we still have quotes of hers. I have a wonderful business in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. She just had like all these cute little sayings. And the biggest thing that I got from Florence's book was faith. like her strongest thing was like she would do these demonstrations for people to the point where like people would find their rent money on the street, like rolled up in a ball. And at that time, I found $100 on the ground, like when I was reading her book. So I was getting evidence of it in my life, that when we decide and we not just pray like, oh God, please help me, but more decide, I have faith that this is going to work out for me. That's the energy that we're sending, and that's the energy that comes back.
Amazing. Very
Yeah.
good. Beautiful. Wow. So how long have you been practicing this? Your entire life?
No, gosh, no, no. We came to this information probably in 2009. That
Very
was
good.
the big fallout of 2009. And I saw so much evidence of it working in my life that I started to study it. And then I started helping other people apply it. And so I have, hundreds of stories of people manifesting really cool stuff, like, tons of money. And like when people start to realize that they are the greatest conductors in this story, like they are the ones that send out the energy to everything, like they're sending the signal that's going to pull everything back to them. That's when your whole life changes. Like you got to gain a grasp on it. You got to gain
Yes.
a grasp on your thoughts, your
Yes.
feelings, right?
Yes.
But yeah, it's my
2009 was the year that I completed my first hypnosis certification.
really
Yeah, and at that time I wasn't really knowledgeable or even that much aware of manifesting. Because for me everything was fine. I had a good job, had a
right.
house,
Yeah.
had a marriage.
Yeah.
Everything was okay. Um, so it was over the, your practice evolves over the years. You learn new things from clients all the time. And as we were saying, people contribute information all the time.
Yeah.
So my nowadays the word manifestation is overused, and I
Oh,
hear it everywhere I look. Maybe because I'm tuned into it, but everybody's talking about abundance and manifestation. But there's two sides to that coin. We could be manifesting things that are not good for us, and we could have an abundance of, I don't know, flood water running through the house. um, Context and intention are everything. So it was over time. See, because I started out with an interest in persuasion and motivation and influence.
okay.
And from there, it was a short hop to hypnosis and then helping a person to become different, right?
Mhm.
To create a new way of being. That's what leads to manifestation. So my practice had to evolve from one stage to the next. So now I understand a lot more about manifestation. I also see that I'm not as good at it with myself in my own life as I am in helping others.
Yeah.
That we can instantly see others people's stuff, but we don't instantly see our own. There's a
No.
blind spot.
Yeah. Yeah. We're too.
So
And
yeah, so when I need help, I go get help.
yes, I mean you have to, because this is a collaboration, and we do need other people to kind of show us, where our blind spots are. You touched on something though that just brought up something for me. And most people think that manifestation is something on the outside, right? Like we get physical evidence of manifestation. Like I dream up a Mercedes and now a Mercedes is in my driveway, right? But really, it's the identity of becoming that person who actually drives that kind of car and creates that kind of income to support driving that kind of car, that I think it closes the gap for us. Because when I didn't really understand manifestation, it was just like, oh, I'm just going to wish for that, I'm going to hope for that, and it's going to happen. You need to pull your energy up, and first of all get rid of the beliefs. Like my belief about my Mercedes was I can't afford a Mercedes, I'm not worthy of a Mercedes, whatever those energies were underneath. And then when I let those go and I just decided like this is happening and I'm manifesting this and I am fully worthy of it. And I would see the keys in my hand and I would see my eyes looking out of the windshield and I would see a car and I would go, oh, there's my car. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, there's my car. Because if I was driving a Mercedes, I'd be like, oh, they have the same car as me. Like it's no big deal, right? So I became that identity. Once I did that, in 2 weeks, I was driving a Mercedes.
My
And I've been
goodness.
for 5 years. I love the car. I love it. Once you drive a Mercedes, it's hard to go back. It really is. Although now Okay, you ready for my next thing? And I just
Yeah.
saw it the other day. I drove a convertible Mustang in Connecticut with my girlfriend just recently. We went back to our hometown and we drove all over the place in this little convertible. And I was like, I want an old style Mustang, yellow. And I drove by one the other day and you can rent it. So we're going to go rent it. Mike and I are going to rent it. And we're going to go down the PCH. And pretty soon I might be driving one of those. So you just never know what's going to happen. So I might let go of my Mercedes for an old style Mustang. I don't know. I'm maturing, I'm growing. I don't know what's happening, but it's a
Right.
lot of fun. Desire can be really fun if you don't get caught up in it having to be a certain way or having to come a certain time. If you're just more free flowing about it and you're like, oh, this is what I want. And let's see what the journey brings me and what kind of inspiration I get to activate the energy.
Beautiful.
You're the only person I dance with on the show, you know?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Got the music in me.
That's one of the nicest things you've ever said to me, by the way.
I love it. I love it. All
So
right, we
I
got
like
5 more minutes. We got 5 more minutes. What kind of gold can we give these people?
well, I want to acknowledge some of the wisdom that you have dropped, these little golden nuggets you've been dropping. About shifting our identity. We have to close the gap between what we have and what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have to become that person who has those things or is capable of getting those things. So as you know, we've had these conversations before. As you know, for me, the where I work is in the middle. It's in the doing and the having a plan and carrying it out.
Yeah, that's important. It really is important. Yeah, that's an
Um,
important piece because if we don't have some sort of plan to carry it out, it's airy fairy thinking. It doesn't have enough to construct. It's like trying to build a house with, you know, the foundation. You need other things to build the house. So,
yes.
yeah.
All right. So I would like to speak directly to our audience
Okay.
to say that whatever is going on with you, you can have a shift. It's up to you. Consider what your options are. There's misery, there's fear, and there's love. Now, love is an option, it's available to you, it starts within. Consider your spiritual connection. If you
Mm.
have given up on whatever universal force there is, if you have given up on that, consider your spiritual connection with other people. Any love that you feel, any pleasant relationship that you have that's helpful. That is a spiritual connection too. Um, Consider what you have and start looking at what you have rather than what you don't have. Look at what you have within you as an internal resource or your material resources. Concentrate on what you have that you can use. For now, ignore what you don't have that you're longing for. It's going to keep you stuck.
Yes. Good stuff. So good. So good. And I was just thinking, like, for those people who maybe don't have someone to love, there are really, really lonely people in this world. And I think our social media has helped them to somewhat feel connected. But you got to go out there and you got to find the people. You got to volunteer somewhere or work in a convalescent home or, really get your outreach instead
Yeah,
of just being so, internal. Like we become these internal beings and we stay in our houses all the time on these computers. And it's like, you got to get out and live your life. You got to get out and experience the world and connect with people. And if
yeah,
you have this energy of nobody loves me, everybody hates me, you're going to get that reflection. So
yeah,
shifting that, and my friend James can help you with that for
yes.
sure.
By the way, the people who can love with you, it's possible that they're already in your life, but you're not seeing them.
This is true. You're taking them for granted or you're
Correct.
not recognizing it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Where your subconscious has already been trained to filter out that information. So, in a future show, I would love to talk about subconscious filtering.
I love subconscious filters. We will definitely, I can't believe we're out of time. This is like, how does this even happen? It's like, and that's
I,
why I love doing the show with you.
it's golden. I really appreciate you asking me. I'm very grateful that we met and I have you in my life right now.
No, I
My
know.
love to your daughters and your husband, Mr. Duffy. Tell them all I said hello. I love them.
Oh,
I love your listeners too. Thank you for being here.
yes. Thank you all for being here. We have had a great time together. There are so many pearls of wisdom in this. You're probably going to want to listen to it more than once. And James will definitely be back.
Thank
No
you,
doubt.
Gold.
All right. Peace out, everyone. Just hang tight.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.